Right.
Time, right. You might as well use it elsewhere. So
At one time,
if you cobble it together, you know, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like,
not really
you know,
that good. Mr. Campaign. So you're aware. I mean, if you, if you want to go down there, I'll be more than happy to meet you. I'll explain to you where it is, what's what.
Good evening, everyone. Township Council Workshop Agenda, Monday, October 15th, 2018, is now called to order. Mr. Santino Coletta, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Coletta. Mrs. Kraus, can you please read the statement of public notice?
Take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. A notice of the meeting was prominently posted on the bulletin board at the municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey on January 2nd, 2018. A copy of the notice was faxed to the North Jersey Herald and News and the Record on the same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the Township Clerk on said date.
Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll.
Councilmember Coordinator? Present. Councilmember Lease?
Here.
Councilmember Sieber,
Present.
Councilmember Vanchieri?
Present.
Council President Scoba.
Present. Mayor Damiano?
Thank you, Council President. This evening we have several proclamations honoring some of the sports teams here in Little Falls that have had some pretty incredible accomplishments this year in town with some very successful records. And I'm going to ask them to join me up here after I read a proclamation for each of them. And I'm going to ask their coaches to also join me up here along with their sponsors if they're here so that I can present all of our young athletes with a medal. The first one this evening is for our 3rd and 4th grade boys baseball team. And I'm going to first ask the coaches to join me up here while I read a proclamation. And then I will ask all of the young athletes to join me. And we have coaches Heather Santenario, Alex Coletta, and Al Kawadi. If you could all join me up here. So on behalf of this municipality, whereas it is the intention of the Mayor and Council of the Township of Little Falls to focus attention on noteworthy occasions and individuals, and whereas public recreation programs, particularly youth sports, are an integral part of our community, giving our young residents a chance to participate in a healthy activity that fosters teamwork and builds stronger character and lifelong skills. And whereas the Township of Little Falls celebrates the LFAC 3rd and 4th grade boys baseball team on their 7-3 season score and would like to extend our sincere congratulations to these athletes and let them know how proud the community is of their accomplishments. And now it is fitting and proper that I, James Belford Damiano, Mayor of the Township of Little Falls, extend congratulations, best wishes, and continued success to the LFAC 3rd and 4th grade boys baseball team. Coach, I'm going to ask you to read off each of the names as I present them with a medal. Okay.
Santino Coletta. R.J. Pepling. Dayami Guile. Ryan Blunt. Michael Kawadi. Dean Wright. Philip Arena. Dean Abdullah. Victor DiPadova. Ryan Burbano. LJ Enriquez. And Nikki DeFeo.
Let's take one group team picture up here. Come on, get in front. Come on, come in front. Get in the picture.
Ready, guys? Okay, we'll go first. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations. Whoever wasn't here, take a medal. You know who wasn't? Okay. Whoever wasn't here, grab a medal for it. All right, the next team that we have joining us this evening is our 5th and 6th grade girls softball team. And on behalf of the township, whereas it is the intention of the mayor and the council of the Township of Little Falls to focus attention on noteworthy occasions and individuals, and whereas public recreation programs, particularly youth sports, are an integral part of our community, giving our young residents a chance to participate in a healthy activity that fosters teamwork and builds strong character and lifelong skills. And whereas the Township of Little Falls celebrates the LFAC 5th and 6th grade girls softball team on their 12-1 season score, and would like to extend our sincere congratulations to these athletes and let them know how proud the community is of their accomplishments. Now, it is fitting and proper that I, James Belford Damiano, Mayor of the Township of Little Falls, extend congratulations, best wishes, and continued success to the LFAC 5th and 6th grade girls softball team. I'm now going to ask the coaches to join me up here again, and the coaches are Mike Russo, Rich Akara, Chris Russo, and Claudine Stefanelli.
Thank you. Okay, players, Alyssa Russo, Sarah Ramo, Alexandra Stefanelli, Shannon Power, Abigail Kosh, Ashley Laguna, Katie Granda, Amy Sieber, Ava Lucanti, Rachel Haraka, Sophie Baker, and our sponsor, Absolute Packaging, Tony Stefanelli. Thanks so much for so many in the community. All right, we have one more team this year
who happened to go undefeated, and it was our 5th and 6th grade boys baseball Little League team. And whereas it is the intention of the mayor and council of the Township of Little Falls to focus attention on noteworthy occasions and individuals, and whereas public recreation programs, particularly youth sports, are an integral part of our community, giving our young residents a chance to participate in a healthy activity that fosters teamwork and builds strong character and lifelong skills. And whereas the Township of Little Falls celebrates the LFAC 5th and 6th grade boys baseball Little League team on their undefeated 12-0 season, and would like to extend our sincere congratulations to these athletes and let them know how proud the community is of their accomplishments. Now, it is fitting and proper that I, James Belford Damiano, Mayor of the Township of Little Falls, extend congratulations, best wishes, and continued success to the LFAC 5th and 6th grade boys baseball Little League team. Congratulations. I'm now going to ask our 3 coaches to join me up here: Anthony Blunt, Dave St. Ledger, and Andy Gregorio.
Okay. Players: Jacob Blunt, Mike Romano, Michael Malaroni, Attila Canci, Marco Mola Nigro, CJ Giorgio, Anthony Diaz, Gio DeLeo, Chase White, Zach LeConte, Jack St. Ledger, Jenny Abreu, and Danny Granda. Thank you.
Should we bite them and make sure they're here? You can't keep me with the skis.
And we have 3 victories this year over the Total Sports League by this team. Congratulations to all of our athletes, and thank you to all of our team sponsors this year. It's very much appreciated. Congratulations.
It's like every time you get it, it goes out. I can't think Chuck said to speak to you about ordinance number 1322. Oh, there's not, I think the battery's out. Gold line? Yeah, this is.
Oh, Ridge Ave?
Is that, yeah, Ridge Ave.
Last year we completed the project on Crane Street, where we went up about, what did we go up, 25? Well, maybe about 50 feet up Ridge, and we stopped. But the mayor and council agreed to
the right thing to
continue all the way up to the dead end.
Oh, okay.
So, basically, it's going to be Belgian block curbing. Yeah, everything we do is Belgian block. So the all new Belgian block curbing, milling and paving of the road. And then there's some things we're going to need to go over the
ADA ramp, but that's a good way to
no.
Because it's the end of
It's just dead end. What you're going to need is you're going to need to get a survey done. The street, property lines, and all that kind of stuff. Right. All right. Once the survey's done, then generally what happens is the engineer and I sit down, and we go over and we try and figure out all the what has to be done. There's some county drainage that comes down there. So there's some stuff that's going to be a little odd. There's some some grading that's going to have to be replaced. I mean, when you're ready.
Castings.
Well, the casting, no, casting. Nope. You find the casting, we're going to brand new.
At this time, we're going to have a presentation by Superintendent Tracy Marinelli.
Is it something I said?
Yeah, they all went home to do the homework.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to see some new, familiar faces to get some fantastic information out to you regarding the state of our schools. There's a couple of things that I'd like to go over today. The first is I'd like to share a video. I'm not sure who has seen this, but I wanted to go on the assumption that most people did not. And at the end, I'm going to close with giving you a brief navigation of our website where you can see all of this fantastic news and information at your leisure from your home, your car, your phone, your computer, from work. And so this is just a little clip that I put together. And when you go to our websites, each of the principals has done the same specifically about their school. So this gives you a little glimpse into where we're going this year.
Welcome to the 2018-19 school year. My name is Tracy Marinelli, and I'm the superintendent of schools here at Lake Forest. Our Board of Education and administrative team is committed to providing both academic and facility excellence to students of Little Falls. We have completed our One-Two initiative, where each child in grades K through 2 has an iPad, and each child in schools 3 and 1 in grades 3 through 8 have a Chromebook. Our curriculum is aligned to the newest standards and can be found on our website for easy parents and guardian view. School number 1 has received a new shading area and playground equipment, while school number 2 has received new parent parking lot, new sidewalks, new guardrails. All 3 schools have received safety and security upgrades, including new and additional cameras. We also continue to celebrate the arts by providing several fine and performing arts courses, electives, activities for students to participate in, and family and community members to enjoy. Together, with our community partners, such as the PTA, the Little Falls Education Foundation, and Little Falls Police Department, we are able to provide more children with a high-quality education. The Little Falls Police Department is a constant presence in our schools. Aside from assisting in mock drill practice and monitoring drop-off and pickup, increasing police presence throughout the day. Our PTAs provide assembly programs and after-school activities for our students, funding class trip travel, and have recently donated outdoor classrooms and garden to both schools number 2 and 3, as well as air conditioning in all 3 buildings to help keep our schools and students cool during hot weather. Our Little Falls Education Foundation provides funding for teacher grants, alternative seating, a free trip to Broadway, 3D printers, a peer-to-peer retreat, and most recently, a state-of-the-art STEAM lab at school number 1. As we continue on our path of excellence, we celebrate our students' art schools to a dynamic path who educate the whole child, pushing to exceed her academic ability while fostering an environment of kindness and trust. They honestly care for your children as if they were their own. We celebrate student achievement and success as a priority and promote a student-centered classroom where exploration and hands-on learning is at the forefront of our curriculum and practice. We celebrate that our park schools continue to exceed expectations and are well above state average. This year, students will be encouraged to follow their moral compass, being non-judgmental, empathetic, sincere, and well-mannered. It is our hope that you will also foster these attributes at home. As we embark and navigate your child's academic journey together, remember, my door is always open. I hope you will join me for my Talk Latte series, where we are able to talk informally about your concerns, celebration, as well as the district's achievements and initiatives. A wonderful school year. Little Falls, one district, one team, one vision.
So one of the things I mentioned on there is park scores. So I wanted to take you through a little journey of where our park scores are today, which is significantly higher than where they were 3 years ago. When I'm speaking, there are 5 levels of performance that the students are scored with. Level 1, not yet meeting expectations. Level 2, partially meeting expectations. Level 3, approaching expectations. Level 4, meeting expectations. And level 5, exceeding expectations. When folks talk about, quote unquote, passing the park, they're referring to the percentage of students who scored a 4 or a 5. Okay, obviously the ultimate goal is to get 100% of the students into that 4 range, but simultaneously pushing as many as you can up into the 5 range and exceeding those expectations. So these are our scores in green, our math scores, compared to the math scores of the rest of the state of New Jersey. As you can see, we are outperforming them in every grade level. So this takes you through grade 3 up to Algebra 1. And if I can explain that for a second, we take a percentage based on 6th grade math scores, split them up into a higher level 7th grade math course, and that's a path onto Algebra 1. So we have 8th graders taking both Algebra 1 and 8th grade math. So in 3rd grade math, we are outperforming the state by 35%, 4th grade by 31%, 5th grade by 14%, 6th grade by 16%, 7th grade by 19%, 8th grade by 26%, and in Algebra 1 by 46%. In ELA, which is our English Language Arts, again, we are represented by the green and the state average by the blue. We are outperforming the state by 27% in 3rd grade, in 4th grade, 27%, in 5th grade, 23%, in 6th grade, 34%, in 7th grade, 29%, and in 8th grade, 16%. I'm going to get into these grids a little bit more, but if you look at these, this is general education and special education combined. So we have upwards of 85, 81, 90, and 92% of the entire grade level meeting and exceeding expectations on these statewide assessments. So when we break it down into the level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm not going to bore you with the details, and this is on the website. If you look side by side, it's our local grade 3 ELA, then the state ELA, our local grade 3 math, and then the state math. And why I wanted to put these up here, I struggled with if I even wanted to put this up here. Better? The reason I wanted to put these up here was to show you the visual of the amount of our students that are scoring in the exceeding expectations. Okay, that's those are the students that are outperforming their grade level expectations. So if we look at third grade math, for example, we have no students scoring a 1. We have no students scoring a 2. 12% scoring a 3, 46.9% scoring a 4, and 40.7% exceeding those expectations as compared to the state's 15.2%, which is outstanding. 3 years ago, we barely had 2 or 3% of students in that exceeding expectations. Grade 4, again, we are the 2 bars to the left, so you can see, again, 40% exceeding expectations compared to the state's 18.9, and 28.2 compared to the state's 7.6. Grade 5. Again, in 5th grade math, we don't have 1 student scoring a 1. Grade 6. Grade 7, in both ELA and math, we have no students scoring in the not meeting expectations. And in grade 7 ELA, we have more students exceeding expectations than we do meeting expectations. Grade 8. And then the algebra. So what does that mean over a period of time? So what I did in this graph for you was to show what we call a cohort of students. So it follows the students from grade to grade. So the same group of students who were in 3rd grade in 14-15, and then 4th grade in 15-16, and then 5th grade in 16 and 17, so on and so forth. And you could see the trends. And overall, we made a 15% gain over the last 3 years in mathematics in a combined general and special education. Special education mathematics specifically, we showed a 9% gain over 3 years. Most of our concentration so far has been in ELA. We're starting to focus on math this year, and we showed a 14% increase combined gen ed and special ed over the last 3 years, and a 38% increase in ELA as it relates to special education. That's a great deal of program change, professional development, unpacking standards, administrative team working together as instructional leaders and getting into the classrooms, teacher PLCs, working with a program called Link It, which is online assessment. So students are taking online assessments not just when it's time for the park, but to gauge where they're at in their performance throughout the year. We have a curriculum coordinator, which is also Mrs. Dilks, who serves as our School 3 principal, and myself, the director of curriculum, and also the superintendent, who analyze and redevelop the curriculum with the staff. We did not have curriculum 3 years ago, so all the curriculum now has been developed, and I will show you, you can access that on our website as well. That's all developed by the staff and reworked daily. We departmentalized grades 3 and 4, which means the teachers used to teach language arts, math, science, and social studies. Now they're responsible for 2 content areas, so they teach either math and science or language arts and social studies. We've brought an ELA consultant in to work with the district to realign scope and sequence. We've done a full inclusion program, which is what I attribute that very large increase in the special education meeting and exceeding, because now they're getting exposed to the vocabulary and the rigor of a general education classroom. Link It, which I touched base on. We had all of our staff in School 2 trained in a program, Orton-Gillingham, which is a program that helps students with their phonetic awareness with reading and fluency. We've provided a great deal of data analysis training, professional development, restructuring of classroom practices to be more student-centered, and of course, staff collaboration and enthusiasm. Niche.com just ranked our staff the #1 in the state of New Jersey, so that's something that we've been celebrating. And that number comes from a combination of their attendance, the state assessment scores, salaries, and different information that they get through the State Department of Education. So one of the things you heard me talk about in the video was our new STEAM lab, and that's a real picture. I know it looks like a magazine picture, but that is literally a room in school #1 today. The Education Foundation and I met about a year ago to talk about the fact that we had this large space that was split into 4 small group instruction classrooms that was completely inappropriate for that area. And the second I saw it, I said, this has to be a media center, a STEAM lab, worked with the administrative team, sat with the Ed Foundation, and we figured we would launch a campaign, and in about 3 to 4 years, we would be able to raise the money to build this room that we anticipated was going to cost $100,000. The final ticket price was $92,000. Through the Ed Foundation, a donor came forward and met with me to walk the space and hear the ideas that we had for the space, and wrote us a check for $60,000. So with that, we call our STEAM Angel donation, we were able to get the room built within a year's time, and just had the ribbon cutting last week. The Ed Foundation gave us additional funds through some of their fundraising activities, and then our budget was able to sustain the remainder through monies that we had budgeted for furniture for classroom use. So what you're looking at there is what we call the safety zone. That's where students use glue guns and foam cutters and wood and hammers and things of that sort. This is the back view, where you can see some of the tables that they work on. All the tables are on wheels, so they can turn into larger tables, or one really big table. In the back, that green sliding wall is a glass board that is a dry erase board they could write on. The black machine is an interactive 3D science machine. So instead of reading about blood pumping through the heart, you put on 3D glasses. The heart literally comes into the middle of the room. You could cut it in half, watch the blood flow, and it is pretty much like an academic video game, and we all know how much children today love their video games. This is what we call the think tank. This is also a part of the room. The table in the middle of the blue chairs swivels. It's also a dry erase board where the students can work, write their ideas, shift the table around, and then come up with what their final thought is. Separating these two rooms is sliding glass doors that are also able to be written on. Computers are in there, and you can see the 3D printer on the left. Clearly, we named the room after Miss Susan St. Ledger for her generous donation. Those are dry erase boards that the students can grab right off of the wall. Do not sit on those green chairs unless you've been doing core exercises. And the large whiteboard is for the 3D, the AV Rover, it is called, and plenty of storage for the students to place their work. All right, all right. Okay, so this is our website that we've spent a great deal of time and effort into over the years, because we want this to be, we call this our Macy's window, right? Especially for the folks that don't have students in the schools, and want to know, you know, we're paying taxes for the schools and what's going on there. So I beg you to check our website because it changes daily. As I mentioned before, right here, there's a video message from me, and if you go to up here are each of the three schools. If you click on any of the schools, you're able to see the video announcements from each of the principals. You can click on them to view what each of them have to say about what's going on in their building. Any information, our calendar of all of our events, our meetings, our concerts, our plays, anything for you to partake in is right here. Our Twitter feed, so you can see what's happening in our classroom. A lot of times there's videos there. Something else I'd like to share that I would love for you to interact with is on the left-hand side, it's called our Falls Flash. So that's a digital magazine that the administrative team puts together, and we put it out either monthly or every other month. So you could see here 725 viewers read this last episode. We want to visit from the Commissioner of Education because of the fabulous bulletin boards that we have up in our schools. So, for example, the presentation I showed you, if you come to this and you click right on here, it brings you right to the presentation. So like I said, this is our Macy's window. This is giving you a bird's eye view of everything that our students are experiencing, everything that our teachers are doing on a daily basis, the hard work and dedication that is really the driving force between all of the success that we've been experiencing. So I beg you to go to www.lfschools.org and call anytime, send an email anytime if there's something that you think you'd like to come to, but you're not sure how to get there or how to get a ticket. Come to our Board of Education meetings. And we just successfully completed our 5-year strategic plan. I'm very excited to say that last year, a year earlier than the plan was due up, we had successfully completed and exceeded everything that the community had asked us to. So it's time for us to make our next 5-year plan, and we are going to be working diligently to put ads out and put information out to get everyone back to start planning the next 5-year strategic plan. So I urge you to be a part of that process because we do listen, and we do want this to be the best district in Passaic County. And if you ask me, I think it already is. So we're going to keep pushing until we get blue ribbon status, that's for sure. And my door is always open. So thank you.
Mrs. Marinelli, do you want to take any questions at this time? So, Mrs. Marinelli will entertain questions if anyone would like to ask them or comments at this time. Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli. Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Are those sports based on schools equal people, or those sports what there's the state, which being the state includes districts, if I remember correctly, has a federation percentage. 15 to 18%, 17%. So that brings down the impact.
Right, so I'm going to show you something quickly. So the ones I showed you is the state average. So just like you're saying, Camden brings it down, Alpine, right. But we can't forget about Alpine, Ridgewood, Wyckoff. So, but everything is. So what I did last year, and I will be doing the same, so when you check out the website, right, because you're going to do that, when this will be up there once the information is available, but I will show you last year. So.
Because I think it would be unfair to compare Little Falls with Alpine, or to compare Little Falls with Camden.
Right, so this you can see, this is us compared to everyone in Passaic County. So you could pick out the ones that you feel best represent our equal, okay? So what I did here, there's something called district factor group, which talks to exactly what you're speaking of. It's based on the census, and it is a percentage of not with students in the district, all community members. How many graduated with a bachelor's degree? How many graduated high school? How many have a master's degree? What's the median income? What's the percentage on free and reduced lunch? So it's A, then B, C, D, D, E, F, G, G, H, I, J. So I pulled out C, D, or higher. Okay, I'll show you where we fall there. So this was our comparison last year. I will do this again once those scores are released to us. Right now, the only information we received were our own and the state averages. But then they'll give us probably somewhere around November, the first week of November, they'll give us other school districts. So I thought first it was important to compare us to places within our county. So you could see that we're always in, if not the top, definitely the top half. What I also did, because I felt this was important. I brought mine. Was compare us to historically high-performing districts to show you, yes, you're right. We shouldn't be compared to Camden, and we shouldn't be compared to Alpine. However, given that, look where Little Falls is falling with. Look at all those I districts. Those are traditionally higher achieving districts with a higher financial base and bigger budgets. And we're the only FG there. Fairfield's a GH, and you have Montclair, Roseland, Glenridge, Caldwell, West Caldwell, Verona, Cedar Grove, Franklin Lakes, and North Caldwell. This is who now we are becoming synonymous with in the academic dialogue. So if I could take you through quickly, because again, now this is last year's data, but look at this, fourth grade math, outscoring Cedar Grove, Glenridge, Franklin Lakes, Fairfield, Caldwell, West Caldwell, Montclair, and Verona. Same thing with grade 4 ELA. Fifth grade math, we know we have work there. Fifth grade ELA. Sixth grade math. Okay, so we're holding our own with these traditionally higher. Look at that. With these traditionally higher achieving districts. So we compare apples to apples, apples to pumpkins, and apples to bananas, because we don't want to just be the best of the FGs. We want to be the best in the county, and we want to be comparably the best in the state. Okay.
Mr. Fernandez, you have another comment? Go ahead.
Instead of being is it possible that the board come here like let's say 2-3 times a year, and have the meeting, say 6:30, the same day that we have the council meeting, kill two birds with one stone, and you have
Everybody here.
Everybody.
Well, it's 5 more than we usually get, so. Yeah, I will, I have one of our board members is here, Mr. DeMarco, so the two of us, we have a meeting tomorrow night. So we will definitely bring that up. I think it's wonderful because we do these types of presentations all the time, and it's, you know, it would be nice to have 10 years. 10 years, yes.
Mr. Fernandez, are you implying to have a Board of Education meeting here, or a?
Like an hour before.
Very innovative, very innovative.
I don't know, I don't know what to do. I don't know anybody.
Well, we appreciate your comments, Mr. Fernandez. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other? And the Talk-A-Lattes I talked about, they are open to folks that, those aren't just for parents. So some are during the day and some are at night, and they're very informal. I have a little bit of information that I prepare, but other than that, it's your agenda. Any questions that you have for us, we take them. And we feed you. And we feed you. No.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Would be sad, would be sad.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli, for that fine report. Anytime you'd like to come back and give your presentation, you're welcome in this chamber. Thank you. Thank you. Have a motion, a second, to open to the public comment for general matters and action items only.
So moved, so moved.
All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to this motion signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Mrs. Kraus?
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President.
The floor is now open. You could, it's both, Mr. Fernandez.
General matters. Louis Fernandez, 54 Harrison Street. I have a question. I don't know if it is for Phil or for the council. And this is regarding the FEMA buyout. The resolution authorizing the award of a contract to IBN Construction in the amount of $2,053, almost $250, for the demolition of 10 FEMA flood buyout. Is that? I take it is for all 10, including asbestos as well, correct?
It's your question, Mr. Fernandez. Ladies and gentlemen, so in the future, please address the staff as well as Mr. Simone. Try to hold back from saying Phil or first names, if you don't mind. So the question is, does this amount of money include everything, is what you really want to know, from top down, right? Foundation, asbestos, or is it that there's some hidden fees that the township's going to incur?
If I recollect, if my memory serves me well, I think in the last buyout or whatever, there was extra money for asbestos. Asbestos had to be removed, it was something extra, something like that.
So let's just be sure, I just want to be certain of your question. You just want to make sure this covers the whole. Mr. Simone?
The bid that we received covers everything. And from start to finish, including asbestos, lead, the removal, the restoration, everything.
That's a good question, Mr. Fernandez.
And that's for the 10 houses.
That's for the 10 houses, that's correct.
Thank you,
Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Simone.
Anyone else like to come forward at this time? Seeing no one else come forward, can I have a motion and a second to close the meeting to the public?
So moved, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Mayor Damiano?
Thank you, Council President. There are a large number of items to be discussed this evening. I will try to move as quickly as possible while still being as thorough as possible. The very first item is the tax refund resolution and resolution canceling taxes. As is common throughout the year, the municipality in this particular case had several more buyouts that have occurred, and we are therefore refunding or canceling the future taxes on those properties, as has been discussed several other months throughout this year. Are there any questions with that? All right, item number 2 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of a duplicate tax sale certificate. This is more of a formality. There was already an issuance of a tax sale certificate issued to the individual who acquired it. They lost their documentation. There is a small fee that needs to be paid by them, and an affidavit confirming that they in fact lost those documents, and then a new duplicate tax sale certificate can be issued to them, and that is simply what is occurring as a result of item number 2. Item number 3 is a resolution requesting permission for dedication by rider. One of the concerns highlighted by our municipal auditor last year, or for last year's budget, was that there was not a dedication by rider filed for one of our departments. This is more of a formality and an administrative issue in that each department, so that their trust account and trust funds can be set up to spend their funds, it is required that there be a dedication by rider that authorizes that. And in this case, we were missing one of the number, and it was requested as one of the items on our audit report that a dedication by rider be filed, and that will be sent down to the Division of Local Government, held in their files, and that audit item will be resolved.
Does council have any questions on number 3? Mayor, I have a question. So if one was a retired fire person and they bestowed an amount of money to a specific fire department, this is what this is about when we say rider?
No, this is not. This one in particular is for the police department, but each department, as funds are allocated to them in the beginning of the year, they then have that fund to draw down upon to pay expenses. This is just their particular fund. There was just no formal filing of the rider with the division, and that's the reason that we need to file this.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next is the resolution to submit a grant application and execute a contract with NJDOT for Little Falls Downtown Street, Safe Streets to Transit Project. As has been discussed, we are looking to make a substantial number of upgrades to our town center area. This is part of that application process in seeking grants to receive funding from the state to make improvements to our town center. That is simply what item number 4 addresses here, which sort of works in conjunction with item number 5, which is the resolution authorizing submission of a 2019 NJDOT municipal aid grant application and execution of agreement for Phase 1 of Main Street Streetscape Improvements Project. Are there any questions as to those two? They're somewhat self-explanatory.
I have a question.
Councilwoman Coordinator.
We can get both, or does one depend on the other? If we don't get one, we can't get the other, or they're totally separate?
They're entirely separate grant applications. As far as conversations have gone with our professionals, neither of them are dependent upon the other to receive the funding. So we are hopeful to get double the money here to help improve our immediate town center area.
What's the deadline for submission?
Off the top of my head,
DOT grant? DOT grant was 2 weeks ago.
Right, the application was submitted, this is the formality, formalizing it. But I don't know off the top of my head the deadlines. I don't know off the top of my head. But item number 6 was a resolution authorizing the execution of an interlocal agreement between Little Falls and Paramus for the maintenance and repair of military vehicles. Paramus has recently hired a former military mechanic to service a number of their military vehicles that they maintain in Paramus. It ended up being far less expensive for them to bring someone on board full-time than it was to send their vehicles out. This will actually result in a major benefit to the municipality municipality, whereby we'll have a contract with Paramus where they will extend their military mechanic to the municipality here, who can perform service on our military vehicles to make sure that they are always up to snuff and ready to go in the event of an emergency. This came at an extremely reasonable rate, I believe it was of $75 per hour for their services, which is extremely reasonable for the cost associated with a mechanic, especially a specialized mechanic in military vehicles. Any questions with respect to that?
I have a question. So is this the repairs or the maintenance work, is it going to be on a schedule or only as need be?
I'm sure there will be some scheduled as far as annual reviews, but overall it will be primarily as needed on these vehicles. They're not in use all the time, but I'm sure an oil change every year wouldn't hurt.
Thank you.
Do you have any other concerns, Councilwoman Seaver?
No, thank you.
The next item is a resolution renewing elevator service contract. Again, this one's somewhat standard. There is a elevator service contract that we currently have to perform maintenance on our elevator here in the municipal building and of municipal buildings. This is just renewing the elevator service contract. Any questions with that? All right, item number 8 is a Chapter 159 resolution for the fire department. This item was, the fire department received a $1,000 grant for carbon monoxide detectors. The 159 resolution allows those funds to be deposited into our municipal account so that they can then be expended and utilized for the purpose of purchasing carbon monoxide detectors, which will be distributed in accordance with the grant regulations. And then item number 9 is the proposed ordinance for a stop sign placement at Union Ave and Railroad Avenue. This was discussed in the past, and it is something that will now be making the agenda. As we've indicated, there was no designated through street at the intersection of Railroad Ave and Union Ave, as we discussed at the former meeting. Because Railroad Ave is a municipal roadway and it makes sense as far as driving, there will be a stop sign. What's being proposed that a stop sign be included in the ordinance and then installed at the end of Railroad Ave to provide stoppage there, and Union Ave will become the through street. As it's a county road, it doesn't involve any issues with petitioning the county to have that included there. So Railroad Ave made the most sense to provide safety down at that intersection. Any questions to item 9?
Council President?
Councilman Vanchery?
I just want to say thanks, Mayor, because that's something I know the Transportation Committee has been adamant about trying to do something in that area right there. And I guess, once we do look at that resolution, we'll make sure, too, with the timing of it, we need to paint the white lines on the street as well, because I know as we get closer to the winter months, we can figure that out as well. But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
You bet. Item number 10 is a resolution authorizing an award of a contract. This here says Revax. The contract has actually been changed. It is not Revax who was the low bidder. It was AJM, who is listed under Resolution A. It is just there was actually a bidding issue. Revax was not the low bidder. It is actually AJM, like I said, who's listed below, for the improvements to Woodcliff Ave. As we've discussed, Woodcliff Ave, in 2 consecutive years, received a grant for improvements for a streetscape there. We are combining those 2 years' worth of grants for the streetscape, and there will be minimal additional municipal funds that need to be utilized to provide a streetscape from one end to the other on Woodcliff Ave. And again, that award is being awarded to AJM contractors. Are there any questions to that?
You have to wait, Mr.
I was going to say, Council President, I think I know what Mr. Hernandez is going to ask. He just probably wants some clarity on oversight with Revax versus AJM.
Joe?
So pursuant to the bid request, Township received bids from several contractors. There was some minor irregularity with AJM contractors. Bid submission, it didn't change the price. It was a difference in how they wrote down a number, which is waivable. In fact, we're required, in my opinion, to waive it under the public contract law, and therefore AJM is the lowest responsible bidder under the law, and therefore it should be awarded to AJM contractors instead of REVACs, which was also quite frankly pretty low comparatively. They were within striking distance of each other in terms of bids.
So just to clarify, there was the issue was that in one instance in their bid, a number was spelled out with letters, which indicated a different number than was indicated in the actual numerical numbering. So for example, in one spot, $55,000 was written, where in another spot, $5,500 was listed numerically, and based upon the case law, the council is indicating.
And furthermore, in looking at it, the engineer's estimate for this type of service is in line with the actual numerical quote rather than the handwritten portion. So therefore, it would appear that that was an oversight when somebody should have written 5,500 instead of 55,000. Because 55,000 for that particular type of service would be, quite frankly, ridiculous. Nobody would bid for that amount of money for that type of service. And overall, just so we're clear, the way the bidding worked was that the bidder was required to provide prices for individual units, and then provide a final lump sum. The final lump sum number remained the same. The final lump sum number is both in words and written numbers exactly the same, and by that portion alone, they're the lowest bidder.
Thank you for that explanation. Mayor, anything else?
That is all that I have under my report.
Mrs. Kraus, can you please read number 1 and 2?
Under Phil's report, One, authorizing the award of a contract to Crew Engineers for Fairfield Avenue Pump Station. 2, discussion of bids received for demolition of 10 FEMA flood buyout houses.
Mr. Simone?
All right, I had given the mayor and the council a letter of recommendation, basically pertaining to the Fairfield Ave Stormwater Pump Station. The town has funding in place for this. We sent out requests for proposals. We had 4 engineering companies submit their proposals. This is going to be for the design, the permitting, the construction management of the engineering. We still will have to go out to bid. The project should take approximately a year, maybe a little bit longer to complete. Once the station has been completed, it will now take that stormwater pump station out of the flood water elevation. The last time we had the flood, it was over 2 feet of water in there. Went through the generator and some of the equipment. This will now put us up high enough that, God forbid, the river should ever come back up again. We will not lose that pump station. The other thing is we're going to be increasing the capacity of the pumps at that station. Currently, that station is capable of pumping 10,000 gallons a minute. The new station will be capable of pumping anywhere between 25 and 30,000 gallons per minute, which will help alleviate possibly some of the flooding over in the Russian Hall area if we can get the water out of there quicker. The 4 proposals that were received, I went through them, I checked it all out. There was a sheet I prepared on the back of my letter, which showed you who the engineers were, that they attended the pre-conference meeting, which was a requirement. Their number in there for the design and permitting, the flood hazard area permit, construction administration, total engineering, and then they also gave us time to make the award, time to bid. Upon review of everything and checking the The specifications that we gave them, crew engineers was the apparent low bidder on this project. The total engineering for this is $220,400. There were 3 other bids that were approximately $20,000 in succession, each one going up higher as we went along. The time to bid, or to award a bid is going to be approximately 6 months. Time to build the station, 6.5 months. So, as I said, about a year, maybe a little bit longer. This has been long in coming. The money is in place, and I am asking the council to make the award so we can get moving on the station.
Does council have any questions regarding item number 1 for Mr. Simone?
I do.
Councilwoman Seaver.
So during the time the repair or replacement of the pump station, is there any concern about the existing station? Does it go offline for a period of time?
This is what the engineer will come up with. There's been a couple different scenarios. One is they're going to try and keep the station in place while they build a new one next to it. Another one is they will put temporary pumps in place and reconstruct the existing station, just elevated out of the ground. But we will not lose the pumping capacity that we currently have there during the project.
Does council have any other questions?
Mr. Simone, quick question for you.
Councilman Vanchery.
I know you mentioned that it could take up to a year. So knowing that the engineering is about 6 months, you said, in terms of prep.
Well, by the time they get the flood hazard permit from the state, this is what's really going to govern how long it takes. But they're anticipating at least 6 months for the design and to be able to go out to bid on it. And then another 6.5 months for the actual construction.
So potentially it could start in 2019 and carry over to 2020, or you think
Yes.
it's feasible?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty much what you'd be looking at.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, do you have any questions?
Council President, just to be clear from the budgetary perspective, there was an ordinance passed back in 2010 for the funding of this project. It is now brought to our attention that, this is something that needs to be addressed immediately. And I just wanted to be clear that, as Mr. Simone indicated, the funding is in place and has been since 2010. So there's no action from this council with regard to that issue.
Thank you. Mr. Simone, before we go to the next item, can you give the residents a landmark where the Fairfield Avenue pump station is?
If you go down Main Street and right prior to the railroad tracks, that's Fairfield Ave. You make a right on Fairfield Ave, take it all the way to the end, that's East Woodcliff. And if you look to the left-hand side, you'll see the pump station sits right next to the railroad tracks on the Passaic River.
And that water is pumped where after it's pumped?
Once it's pumped out of the Singac area, it's pumped right into the river.
Thank you.
So we just basically lift it and pump it out.
Thank you. Item number 2, Mr. Simone.
Item number two. All right, item number two. The town went out and we received bids for the demolition of the 10 FEMA flood buyout houses. And also, there's one other house in here, which is a township house, which is in rem foreclosure at the current time. We requested separate bid for the townhouse. The FEMA houses amounted to the FEMA houses amounted to $233,875 for the 10 houses. Again, that includes everything. It's the lead, the asbestos, the knocking down the houses, the disposal of all the materials, and the restoration of the properties. The township house that we're going to have from rent foreclosure was $20,100. That particular house can only be accessible once we knock down this FEMA house because it's landlocked. The house is dilapidated and unsafe. I actually had the building inspector take a look at it. The house is collapsed, it's leaning onto the house next door to it. The floors are all gone in it. It's really a safety hazard. So this particular house needs to go down as quickly as possible. And that was one of the things that we put in the spec, is that this is one of the first things that we need to take down for safety.
Does the council have any comments or questions on item number 2 for Mr. Simone? Mayor, do you have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Simone.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve resolutions A through E at this time?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mrs. Kraus?
Councilmember Coordinator?
Yes.
Councilmember Lees? Councilmember Seaver? Councilmember Vanchery?
Yes.
Council President Scoba?
Yes. Councilman Vanchery?
Are we doing reports? Okay.
That's
I know, transition.
what we're here for.
All right, so I know. I was like, I know. I was looking at some of the agenda items. All right, just a couple updates from a transportation standpoint. Had a chance to connect with Corporal Mancato last week about our traffic data that's required for the potential light on Wilmore, Francisco, and Cedar Grove Road. I'm pleased to announce that Corporal Mancato is planning to send the data that's required for the county traffic engineer Chuck Silverstein this week, so that we can get that in the county's hands and start the process of reviewing the materials, and then hopefully our traffic engineer from the county will then take it to the freeholders for them to discuss at a future meeting on whether or not passing the ordinance to allow a traffic light in that area. So that's something, we're very excited for, that it's finally coming together. I want to thank Corporal Mancato, of course, for his tireless efforts, as well as the Transportation Committee for working to make this happen. One other item, too, is as I brought up last month at a council meeting, just discussions regarding the idea of some speed humps at certain streets based on some feedback from residents. I've had a chance to talk to our new engineer, Mr. Christoph, and him and I have discussed, some of the next steps that we need to look at. Of course, from an engineering standpoint, he needs to do his due diligence and look at, certain items, and he also wants to connect with the Little Falls Police Department, in particular, Corporal Mancato, to look and see if there's any, accident reports, that type of thing, or just some general updates, sensitivities with Houston and Jacobus. So we're going to, get together at some point this week when Corporal Mancato is back on duty. But, we just want to, remind folks that, we're going to do our due diligence to look into the idea of actually having some speed humps. But as we gather more information, what we'll hopefully plan to present to the council and the mayor is, some information, some recommendations, and then connect with the residents, whether it's having a town hall conversation here, or if we actually go to Houston and Jacobus, meeting with the residents, letting them know, we've done our homework, we've done our due diligence, here's some of the recommendations that we have, but at the same time, answer any questions or concerns that they have, so that if we're to the point where it's ready to bring forth for a resolution, we definitely want to do that. But just know we're going to be doing some homework, myself, the police department, as well as our engineer, just to make sure that we've got everything that needs to get done, so we do it right, and we get the feedback that's required. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lees?
No comment on it.
Do you have anything to report with the Harvest Bowl?
Ken gave it, thinking of giving you a story about the Harvest Moon Dinner Dance. And we said that Harvest Moon Dinner Dance, we have more people now than we ever had before. It's going to be a very good evening.
Do you have a date for that, Councilman?
It's
October 26th. Thank you.
6:30.
Thank you.
6:30.
Councilwoman Coordinator?
Yes, thank you, Council President. We're going to be having an open space, Little Falls Open Space Committee meeting tomorrow here at 6:30. I have to go look at my schedule, but looking forward to that meeting and bringing up the committee up to date and talking about our projects for the coming year. Also, the township, in conjunction with the Little Falls Business Association, is going to do Holiday on Main Street again this year. We're looking to expand it from what we did last year. It's somewhere within the week, December 3rd. And of course, it's around the tree lighting and some other activities. Last year, the Breakfast with Santa, which had two sittings, was totally sold out. It was a great success. And even the gingerbread contest, people are asking for that again. And the Business Association is working on coming up with some other great ideas for that whole week to continue to bring people to our center of town. And I just want to make a comment on the STEAM Lab. I attended the opening with Mayor Demiano, and it was really a great event. And after they did the ribbon cutting, you went like station to station as these students were demonstrating the projects they were working on. And I would have to say, embarrassingly, I didn't understand one single one of the projects. They were extremely patient and self-assured and confident in how they explained it and answered questions. It was really amazing, the maturity level and the stuff that these kids were able to do. And I did ask them if I could come back for tutoring, and they all said they would do that for me. So it is really something, if you all have the opportunity, please go on the website. Or you can ask Superintendent Marinelli. She'd be happy to give anybody a tour of this lab. And it really puts us ahead of other townships. So it's really fabulous. That's all I have.
Councilman Sieber?
Thank you. So now that school is back in session, our Municipal Alliance committee is meeting in full swing. We had a meeting this past week, and we're currently planning out the activities for the rest of the year. The next upcoming one, which we can confirm the date, is a dance for the school-aged children. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, as you know, for the residents, I'm the liaison of the mayor to the library. Christine Miller has given her notice that she will no longer be our librarian. So the library board is going to start forming a search committee to have the replacement. Possibly an intern will have to be selected in the interim. Counselor, do you have anything to report? Mayor, you have anything else you'd like to say this evening? Can I have a motion and a second to open to public comment for agenda items only?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Mrs. Kraus?
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President.
The floor is open.
Dorothy O'Hare, 89 Turnberry Road. This is supposed to be just for items on the agenda. I had sent an email requesting a discussion on, the gauges and wondering if the police department had issued a situation report on the conditions because there is going to be a flood board meeting this coming Thursday. And I'm sure all these things are going to be discussed. And I expected it under council topics.
That's okay. I understand that there was maybe a little confusion. We are under agenda items. However, Mayor, would you like to comment on this email that was sent by Mr.
Yes, absolutely. In closing this evening, I was going to announce the flood board meeting, which is scheduled to occur. The first reorg meeting of the flood board will be this Thursday here at the municipal building at 7 p.m. It is obviously open to the public. All three towns have appointed all of their representatives to the flood board and are expected to appear this upcoming Thursday. To answer some of the questions that you had posed, I am going to I'll pose the question and provide the answer so that it's just very clear what it was.
If you intended to do this at the flood board meeting, that would be...
I'm happy to report this again there as well. One of your first questions had to do with whether or not we had received approval to install the third gauge at the Route 46 bridge. To answer that question, we have just recently received DOT approval to install the whole whopping 3 pounds on the DOT bridge.
4 pounds.
It was 4 pounds. on their bridge. We are actually in the process of scheduling some time with Yogi. I know Mr. Simone has been in communication with him a number of times. Which leads me to the second question that you had about the locations where the gauges were mounted and whether or not they were, I guess, properly mounted. And Yogi is currently re-evaluating the locations where the gauges should be mounted in light of the damage that they sustained after the August 11th event. So he is working to determine where they should be placed, maybe better than where they had previously been installed. Your next question was whether or not the location of the gauges that had been damaged, as I had reported. Yogi now has the damaged gauges in his possession. Are they currently reinstalled, the first two? Not yet.
The Francisco Ave Bridge 1 is operating, even though he talked about relocating it to the other side so it doesn't get hit by the debris coming down. But the one on East Main Street is currently not working. It's there, but it's not working.
The next question that you had was whether or not a date had been set for the flood board, and I know you sent this some, earlier. I know that, but yes, the meeting is officially scheduled. It has been noticed for this Thursday. The report of the damages from the last storm. Well, with respect to your questions to the flood board about the agendas being prepared and set and whether or not there's public involvement, the agendas will be prepared by the administrators. The requests for any items to be placed on the flood board agenda should be sent to the township clerk or administrator who can have it added to the agenda. Again, this week will be the reorg meeting. I'm sure there will still be some items to discuss. And to answer your question about a public comment session, yes, as is routine with these types of boards, there will always be a public comment section at these particular meetings. So yes, there will be public comment and public input at these meetings. With respect to the Traco, you had asked where we stood in that process. The used Traco was approved to be purchased by the state just last week. Woodland Park is the lead agency on this. They are researching which equipment is available for purchase. As we discussed, it just seemed financially prudent to purchase a used Traco, many of which may have lifespans of 20, 30 years. It didn't make sense to purchase a brand new Traco to throw it in a river, only to be used in a river. So we, like I said, we're, for financial reasons, looking to purchase this used Traco again, which was approved. So we have good news with that. There's some light at the end of the tunnel with the purchase of the Traco. One of the other issues that needs to be addressed with respect to the gauges, to go back a little bit, has to do with the readings that they are providing to us during the storms. As I indicated during it might have been 2 or 3 meetings ago, the gauges, while they remained operational through a good portion of the storm, provided readings that were so astronomical that they were impossible. As I indicated, the Main Street Bridge had a reading in excess of 20 feet at one point. And if the reading was in excess of 20 feet, Councilman Vancheri's entire house would have been.
I know, you said that at the last meeting.
So working with Yogi to get more accurate readings is something that's going to be crucial, so that we can better predict the actual storm event and how best to react to it. So working to address that reading and the accuracy of them is something that we're going to need to do. They seem to read accurate numbers until there's a major surge. And that surge, although it may have only been 6 feet, indicates a reading far in excess of the actual surge event. So getting that addressed so that we do have accurate figures will help us better predict future events. So we're going to be working with Yogi on that as well, and the forecasting models. So that's something that, again, I know I've discussed in the past, but just wanted to again state.
Just have one thing that I would like to suggest that the original grant didn't allow us to use, or to buy a used machine. If we had to use grant money. So if it wasn't for John Ritchie, this never would have happened. And if it wasn't for Nick Agnoli preparing the grant, this never would have happened. And I think a letter from the mayor and council of appreciation, I think that would be really a nice thing to do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Thank you, Mr. Hare. Would anyone else like to come forward? Mr. Fernandez, the floor is open.
Louis Fernandez, 54 Harrison Street. Let me make some notes. Let's go back to the military.
The vehicles that we have here.
How many do we have? And would it be better to put them on an annual service contract?
Okay.
Like the same as the elevator?
Right. So your question is, Mayor, what do we have, two or three?
So the police department maintains one Humvee, and our Office of Emergency Management has 3 additional vehicles, 2 4 or 5-ton vehicles, and 1 pickup truck that I think is utilized primarily by the police department. So in total, there are, but as far as military trucks which need to be maintained, I don't know if the pickup fall under that category? Okay, so yes, there would be 4 vehicles that we are talking about having maintenance through this agreement.
Would it be cheaper to?
Next part of your question is there, as was raised by Councilwoman Sieber, is there a annual contract
like you do to your
that
car
you can look at
that
would fix these vehicles on the
annual basis?
Annual basis. I don't think so, but I'll let the mayor comment because they're specialized vehicles. But Mayor, do you know if there could be an annual contract or if that would be feasible or more economic beneficial to the township?
So we've just we've entered into an agreement with them to provide services, and the services that we're going to be paying for are hourly. There is no actual upfront expense to have this agreement with them. It is simply an hourly agreement. So whenever called upon for service or maintenance, the work will be performed. This is not something that has an upfront cost to buy in, anything like that. We've just entered into a contract for a rate of $75 an hour for the maintenance of these vehicles.
Also, the resolution renewing the elevator service contract, how much is that contract? It doesn't, there's no amount. And if I may make a remark, this is, the contract is for this building, correct? For the municipal.
The elevators in this
municipal contract.
Correct. And you want to know the amount?
It's for inspection.
It's for inspection, Mr. Fernandez. It's
Oh,
inspecting the
it's not
elevator.
to repair the elevators?
If there's need, yes.
It's a service contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll get you that number.
All right. But if I mean.
And Mr. Burnett, just to be clear, the company also does inspections of elevators throughout the entire municipality, for the municipality.
How many elevators do we have?
I mean, Clove Road has a number of elevators. All of
Yeah, but are they owned by Little Falls?
No, they're not municipal elevators.
That's what I'm saying. But the amount of this is for the elevators that the township owns, correct?
Okay.
Do I get it right? And the inspection.
Right. Let's get clarification. Is your question concerning that, what elevators this includes? Okay.
Correct.
Mr. Kuchar, what elevators does this include?
As far as the maintenance portion, maybe only for the only things that we maintain
Correct.
Okay. Inspection portion is the requirement for us to inspect something.
I understand. Right. Okay. All right. And maybe I'm reading it wrong. But when I see a service elevator for a contract, for a contract for a service elevator, and I assume that it was building. Okay.
Well, the questions are fine, Mr. Fernandez. Appreciate the questions.
And that was going to lead to my question. This is a two-story building. I mean, can we go staircase up and down?
Well, I agree, it's good exercise to go the staircase, but I think there's a law, and also there are people that wouldn't be able to do the staircase, Mr. Fernandez. You know, but it's required, sir.
Well, just to be clear, there's, as far as once a building reaches a certain square footage, elevators are required. And here, for ADA accessibility, it made good sense to have an elevator to access the second floor.
Does the council have any questions or comments for Mr. Fernandez or Mr. Fernandez to say something?
Just as a point of reference to that, one of our residents who's also president of ABC, who walks with a cane, has trouble going up the stairs. She sits on some of my committees, so she wouldn't be, if we didn't have an elevator here, she wouldn't be able to participate in meetings when we meet on the upper levels. And there's many seniors also that are residents.
But we can also have the meeting. It's a two-way, am I right?
But it...
Council President.
All right, please, this is not open township meeting. Okay, listen, this is not an open township meeting. We all need to jump in. Mr. Fernandez asked a question. I think he's gotten his answer. We can move on.
The last question is this. Going back to the bidding.
The bidding.
For rebacks was the lowest. And then,
it was an
One more, Mr. Fernandez, the council will explain this once again.
He did explain it, but let me elaborate a little bit.
Go ahead.
It was the lowest. It was a mistake. And that's what Mr. Wenzel said. It was a mistake. But about cleanup Inc., about DNL paving, about JTG, they all made mistakes because those bids are lower than AGM.
Okay, one second. Those are not the bidders on, are those the bidders on this one, Mr. Simone?
I can see here.
Let me see what you have, Mr. Fernandez.
That's not.
All right, let me see what you're looking at.
Different bidders.
Those are different bidders, right, so this resolution A that you have in front of you is incorrect. Okay? And I'll explain to you why, Mr. Fernandez. And it's not your fault. You'll see here that there's...
9. I counted.
Good job. You got me. Beat me to the point. 9. Yeah. So there's 9 bidders. Of the 9...
It's the fifth lowest.
One second. Of the 9, 8, well, let's put it this way. 7, excluding AJM and REVACs, are over $400,000. What you have here is REVACs with a bid of $396,658. AJM was incorrectly listed here as $439,136 because of the use of the words 55,000 rather than the use of the numerical portion, which is the correct portion of 5,500. Or 5,500. Therefore, the AJM's actual bid that they submitted, this here is wrong, their actual bid that they submitted was
386,636.
It was 389,636.
Okay. So the other bidders here, all of their bids far exceeded the bids that were received from AJM and REVACs.
I understand.
Okay? Absent the AJM mishap of how they wrote in that 55,000, the next lowest bidder would be REVACs. And that's why that's that.
I'm sure you can see.
We apologize for not having the correct data on that.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to come forward at this time? Seeing no one else come forward, have a motion to close to the meeting to the public. Second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the motion signify by saying nay. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. This meeting is now closed.